Want an NFL podcast that gives a whistle-stop tour of last week's games, the previews for this week, and all of the best betting advice on the planet? Look no further. You've found it. This is Utter Punts.
47-yard touchdown run by the magical quarterback, Lamar Jackson.
Big Keith Trailer. Look at him rumble.
Yes, we're back at you with a shiny, polished and downright handsome new episode. Game week 12 is here and the Utter Punts continue to blitz the NFL conversation. Put me in, coach. I was born for this.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Touchdown! No! No! 24-yard attempt. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good. Derek Johnson, the all-time leading tackler in the history of the Chiefs. And he misses it. That's impossible. The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs.
Utter Punts is an NFL podcast made by UK fans of the National Football League. I'm journalist and Giants fan Liam Bradford, and as always, I've got two more Utter Punts alongside me. He's still looking for his teeth after the Cowboys kicked him down his throat this week in a De Niro-style shoeing on Sunday. Dave Keane joins us from Birmingham.
Hello there. What happened on Sunday? I must have been watching I'm a Celebrity to get me out of here.
Blanked from his memory. I love it. Alongside me here in Manchester is Ravens fan, the Statman Dan.
Yeah, so if you combine the total yards from the Texans first half and the total yards from the Jets second half, you get a massive 12 yards from Sunday.
12 yards. Right, cool. Coming up, the big game reviews, a look ahead to week 12, our Utter Punts of the week, and we'll help you make some money with our big bet builder. Thanks for being with us. Dave, I think I found one of your teeth. Dave, it's just here. I think I found it. Yes. Welcome along to Utter Punts. Delighted that you're here with us and delighted that we're back for another week. It's Thanksgiving week, boys. It's Thanksgiving week. Is everybody excited for Thanksgiving week in the football?
Yeah, I am. It's just about the best slate of Thanksgiving games I can remember, I think. But the late game might be a bit iffy, but because you get the Lions every year, they've been trashed, but actually they're quite good fun to watch. And the other 5 teams playing are probably going to the playoffs, so they're probably 3 of the best 4 games of the week.
Dave, you excited? You look puzzled,
sheepish.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing the Vikings play the Patriots when Belichick's just watched the team destroy us to the tune of 40 points to 3, and has 4 days during which I can't properly focus on helping the Vikings to get any better because I'm not very well.
Oh, I've got something here for you, Dave. It's the world's smallest violin playing the world's saddest song just for you.
Are you going to hum it?
I'll play it for you. Do you want me to play it? Play it if you like.
Play it.
Really? You want me to play it?
Oh, yeah. You could just say it.
That was it. It was more of a harp than a violin.
Yeah, it was more of a harp, but I'll take that.
Look, we're going to have a look ahead to week 12. We're going to have a look back at week 11. We're going to talk about bets. We're going to do various bits and pieces. Before we start, though, we had a chat last week about who we thought the best 7-win teams were in the NFL, who our favourite was out of the teams that had won 7. There was some chat on the WhatsApp group about whether we should do 8-win teams or 7-win teams, but considering the Giants lost, let's do 7-win teams, shall we? Dan, do you want to kick us off? Who's your favourite of the teams that have won 7 so far this season?
Who's my favourite? The Ravens, obviously. I mean, they're cruising into form now, aren't they? Coming into the right time.
I love how they put some offense together in the breakdown.
Well, listen, defense wins championships, Liam. You should know that. And everything's round into shape. You know, the running backs are all coming back to fitness. You know, we're controlling the game. The defense is rounded into form. They're the best team. But probably the Chiefs or the 49ers, right? I mean, who'd have thought that at the start of the season?
Yeah, I mean, almost all of us. Dave, have you got a favourite of the teams that have won 7?
Cowboys?
I've got a couple I want to see lose. Like
Cowboys?
Giants, Ravens. I'll talk about the Vikings, but we've still won 8, so we're not included in this, are we? Because, too many wins.
Yeah,
just too many. We're just too much of a winning team. We're in the top quartile of winning.
The upper quartile of the top quartile. Yeah,
yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, I mean, the 49ers are looking pretty special. Jimmy Garoppolo could be the hottest free agent in football next year if he keeps up last weekend's form. I hope he gets paid. I'd love it if he gets paid by San Francisco.
Technically not a 7-win team.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, they had
till Sunday.
They had Lance sort of like get injured, didn't they? Then another quarterback that you like has just been dropped as well, Dan. It's not going well.
No, my half a young quarterback talent isn't going well.
Zach Wilson, eh?
I think what is clear is that you're starting to get that separation you get every year with there's a top 6 or 7 teams now who are basically displaying that they're heading to the playoffs quite comfortably, but barring some serious injuries, and they look in form and they're sort of shaping up for a playoff run. You got the Bills, the Chiefs, the Vikings, I suppose, the Cowboys run into form, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Titans, all the teams that you thought would be there will be there. So there's some surprises. The Rams are disappointing, the Packers are disappointing, Steelers are shit, and the Pats are still hanging about like a bad smell. But generally you're getting that separation now of the good teams, the really good teams, and then the teams that are already thinking about next year, which is good. Which this time of year does sort of separate the wheat from the chaff. If
the Pats beat us, they go 7-4.
Well, they won't beat you because your coach has got, and I quote, the Thanos' gauntlet, hasn't he? So you're safe. That's your quote. Gauntlet. That's your quote from Sunday.
It's not very good at aiming it.
He aimed it directly at his own team. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he got distracted. Yeah.
Just winked ever so briefly and just blew the Vikings up. Is that what happened, Dave?
Yeah, probably something he ate. Bit of indigestion, caught him at the wrong moment. It just happens. But he's making sure he's got to avoid all the carbs and stuff which are apparently bad for you. And he'll put it in the right direction, but maybe not Thursday. Like, to be honest, maybe not Thursday.
We are going to go through all of the Thanksgiving games for you here on Utter Punts. Don't forget to get involved on the socials. You can have a look for us on Twitter and Instagram. That's where we're busiest. On Instagram, we are at Utter Punts UK, and on Twitter, we are at Utter Punts Pod, as long as Twitter survives another 7 days, although touch and go with Elon being in charge. So we'll just wait and see. If we're no longer on Twitter, you can definitely get us on Instagram as we go through. Get in touch. We would love to hear from you. We're also going to be talking about how you can win yourself some free beer on Utter Punts a little bit later as well, and a real opportunity to win some free beer. I think, though, the best place to go next is to have a look back at Week 11 in the NFL. Here it is, all wrapped up for you. Let's start at Titans against Packers, shall we? Who needs a ground game? The Titans proving here that they're more than the bruising ground attack that we've seen all season. They notched a 27-17 win over a troubled Green Bay Packers side. Whilst the Pack were focusing on stopping Derrick Henry, Tannehill threw for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mind you, the Packers didn't stop Henry either. He managed a touchdown even with all that attention on him. Eagles at Colts next. Oof, this one was tighter than Dan and I anticipated. Jalen Hurts' last-ditch touchdown run, giving the Eagles a 17-16 win over the Colts. The Colts really took it to the Eagles in the early stages, but Jalen Hurts was the key. He kept the ball in his hands for repeated short yardage gains, occasionally literally pushed forward by his teammates. Jeff Saturday might not have the big game experience, but he's definitely done something to that Colts dressing room. They didn't trail at any stage in the game until that final drive. Cowboys at Vikings next. Yeah, this one's going to need talking about. Stand by, Dave. Incoming. Chargers at Chiefs, and the Chiefs win 30-27, and once again the dynamic duo are to thank. No, not Batman and Robin, but Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce, 3 times into the end zone to make sure of that win. When Mahomes and the Chiefs got the ball at the Kansas City 25-yard line with 1:46 remaining, it was almost inevitable. The 11th time in the regular season that Mahomes had a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter. Death, taxes, Mahomes to Travis Kelce. And lastly, Niners at Cards. Mexico City was electric as the Niners cruised past the Cardinals 38-10. Jimmy Garoppolo actually conducted the crowd as the final minute ticked off the clock. He also conducted the offense. 4 touchdown passes, 2 each to Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. 3 straight wins for the Niners. And if we're being honest, the less said about the Cards, the better. Brilliant, and yes, I have completely sprung this on Dave Keane. He was anticipating that I was going to wrap that game up nicely and he was never going to have to talk about it again, but unfortunately, we do have to talk about what happened between the Cowboys and the Vikings at the weekend. I'm going to start with Dan, just because it might wind Dave up a bit more. What happened, Dan?
I don't know if it's to be nice or not. What happened was they went in with that plan, the Vikings, and the first play of the game blew that plan to pieces. Their best offensive lineman, Christian Darrisaw, clearly wasn't fit. He went in after a concussion the week before and went out pretty much straight away after Micah Parsons on the first play of the game tore past him, fairly unpredictably, of course, and stripped the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hand, and the Cowboys turned it over, and it never really got any better than that for the Vikings. The concern would be that they didn't have a plan B. They certainly didn't look to try anything different, even after half time. And you know, Dave's lauded his coach, and actually you didn't really see much from him from a game plan point of view after that. And the Cowboys are a team they're a flat track bully, the Cowboys. So if you give them what they want, they will take it and they will smash you. And the Vikings never really got a glove on them. And you have games like that. I mean, for a team that's got 8 wins, to get beat that way is disappointing. And it sort of raised some serious questions if you're thinking that the Vikings are a serious team. They've even with 8 wins, they've got a negative point differential this season, which shows you that when they've played 2 really good teams, the Cowboys and the Eagles, they've been absolutely destroyed. And you know, there's teams waiting in that division for them. Even if they get the number 1 seed, you know, they're going to have to face the 49ers, they're going to have to face the Cowboys, they're going to have to face the Eagles, they're going to have to face the Bucs, and you just can't see it after that, can you? It's just worrying signs.
My favourite bit of this is we do this programme on Zoom, right? And Dan and I are in the same place, and Dave does this from his house in Birmingham. And just as soon as we started talking about the Vikings-Cowboys game, his camera went blank, his mic went on mute, and he just said in the chat, "See you later, boys." Just abandoned ship.
Hello?
Yeah.
What did I miss? Anyway, if you're talking about Vikings, Cowboys, it's important to remember that Kirk Cousins does have a habitual pull towards 500. And at the moment, we've got so many wins. It was just the universe counterbalancing it on points, which is why I think we're -2 on points now. Dan probably brought that up, loves his stats. But yeah, that's all it is. Just the universe making sure that Kirk can still be 500 in some way as we trundle our way towards losing in the Super Bowl to someone, because that's what's got to happen.
Yeah, you're going to make it all the way there. Definitely not going to have any more malfunctions of the gauntlet.
No, we'll be okay, mate. Like I say, he's not having any more curry, and we shouldn't get any more heartburn, and we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Right, look, we've saved ourselves a load of time because up next, we've got to look at an awful lot of games. 7 in total that we've got to preview this week, and we've got to give you anytime touchdown scorers in the 6 and 9.25 games for the pub to win yourself some free beer too. It is Thanksgiving week, which means the games are all over the shop. First up, it's Bills at Lions. That game is Thursday at 5:30. So Thursday at 5:30. And the Lions have won 3 on the bounce now. Unexpected, I think, against the Giants at the weekend, but they were very good. And do you know what? I've got a bit of a soft spot for MCDC. It's got to be said.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of our first tips. Remember, they had the best offense in the league after sort of 3 or 4 games, and they've sort of gone into a bit of a can. And but they hadn't won a road game for something like 2 years, I think, or something crazy. They hadn't won a road game for such a long time, and then they've won 2 on the bounce. I think the Giants were probably due to come back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you've only got really a very special talent, but when you've only really got one offensive weapon, it is a bit easier for the defense to sort of take those things away. And the Lions on their day can outscore, outrun, outpass most people. I think they'll come to a bit of a crash here. because I think there's an echelon of team that the Lions will just struggle against. But they're a fun team to watch, and if they're the worst team playing on Thanksgiving according to the record, that makes for a good slate, and I think this will make for a really good game. I think they've got a chance. I think they've got a chance of scoring some points. I can't really see them hanging with the Bills in this. I think Josh Allen will have a really good game. Obviously, they flew to Detroit last weekend for the altered game, so they've been there. They haven't moved, so they're nice and established. They won in Detroit Stadium on Sunday, so I can't really see anything other than that. But I think it'll be a fun game to watch and a fun way to start Thanksgiving, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, having spent 4 days in Detroit might not be the best of things for the Bills because Detroit haven't got that much going on, so you never know. It could pay off for the Lions. I think it's 9.5 points. The Bills are favoured by the line I saw earlier. And to be honest with you, I like that. I think the Lions can be guaranteed not to give up on Thanksgiving in front of home fans in Detroit and finally having a chance to play a big team and give it a form of effort. But the injury lists for both teams are very long. There's an awful lot of limited participants. I think it's worth checking who's going to start tomorrow before you come to any solid conclusions, because potentially either or both teams could be taking a huge hit across both their row lines, secondaries. I think it was like about 16, 17 players total on the list, but all with limited participation or did not practice. So worth keeping an eye on. But I want the Lions to win. I think the Bills will, but I want the Lions to, because even though they're in the division, I like the Lions. You can't not. Dan Campbell's my man Campbell.
Yeah, I love Motor City Dan Campbell. I think he's brilliant, and he's that's a great nickname as well. MCDC, absolutely fantastic. I saw him in the dressing room, in the locker room after the game, just screaming at the players at how brilliant they were. Basically, just literally screaming at them for about 3 minutes straight. It was absolutely fantastic. I think what I would say before we go and get any ideas on where the value is and what the bet might be for this one, and we get the predictions, it's worth remembering that because of what Dave said and because of those injury lists, final lists come out a little bit later normally. This week you've got to be right on the ball, so they're already out. So you've just got to make sure that you know exactly what's going on before you chuck any of these bets on, especially with the early games. So just be really careful. Best place to stay across that is A, on the NFL's website or on the team's website, but B, we'll give you an idea of where the value for money is on any bet that we put on Instagram, which is also the place that you can stay in touch with us, get in touch with us, and send us a message, because we would absolutely love to hear from you. Right, let's do predictions. Dave, where do you think's the win's going here?
I think the win will go to the Bills, but I would take the Lions to cover 9.5 points, barring catastrophic injury list.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I wrote down that I can see the sort of Bills getting ahead or having a spell in the game where they just blow 21 points on them. But then the Bills have got a habit recently of just going in the tank a little bit or just playing a bit lazy in the fourth quarter. And I can see the Lions, even if they're sort of 20 points down, scoring a couple of garbage time touchdowns. So I wrote Bills to win, but Lions plus 9.5 is a good bet. There's a bet on Sky Bet, which is, just write it down here, which is Josh Allen to throw for 300 yards, throw for 2 passing touchdowns and 1 interception, and that's 5-1. And actually, that might be a bit of fun, because that Lions secondary is gash, so that he will be throwing the ball around. Then it is one of those games where you will chuck it about a bit. On the injuries, the Bills secondary has been on that injury report day for about 4 weeks, all of it. Every single player in the secondary is on that list every week. And they're playing them and they're just trying to get that defense right for the playoffs, I think. So I don't think you'll see anybody taking a risk with Gregory Rousseau. Certainly won't be playing.
Be fun to see what happens. I'm going to go Bills on this one too. So that's across the board. And where is the value, Dan? Are we saying that bet on Sky Bet's the one to have a bit of fun with?
I like that, 5-1 to start Thanksgiving off. But if you fancy it, I mean, you get even money. I would go Lions plus 9.5 and over 50 points. I think that's a nice little double, because it will be a high scoring game. And I think that'll probably give you the points, and they'll probably be able to cover.
Big Dave nodding his agreement in the background. On to the 9:30 game on Thursday, and that is my Giants at the Dallas Cowboys in what is a tough game for the Giants. I think Dan's already sort of touched on what happens when you've only got one real superstar offensive talent in Saquon Barkley, and you're coming up against a Cowboys side that have been all right this season, maybe slightly better than all right. Dave, how do you see this one going, mate?
I think the Cowboys obviously had a very much a morale boosting victory the other day, but again, Micah Parsons is on the injury list. He's got an injured shoulder. He's got an injured ankle, I think, as well. There's so many injuries again. I think, and again, I think you'll do a better job of stopping Tony Pollard than we did. I think your linebackers and your defensive core are a bit stout of an hour to playing right now, and you'll have the film to see that as well. I can see you playing it a lot closer than I think a lot of people will think, and it's an important game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants staying around very, very late, if not maybe edging it. I don't think you can expect Dallas to turn up and just roll over the Giants in the same way they did us. It's two different games and two different contexts.
I don't know. Giants on the road at AT&T in front of all of those fans. It just feels like this could be a fairly straightforward Cowboys win for me. I don't know what you think, Dan.
I sort of agree with Dave. Really, I think the Giants have the ability to keep these games close. Wink Martindale's their defensive coordinator, ex-Ravens coordinator. He will take Pollard away. And then you're sort of putting on Dak, but they will blitz. He will blitz him to death. He will blitz all night long against him. So it will confuse Dak a little bit. And on when the Giants have got the ball, the Dallas pass rush is fantastic. It's really good. It's a premier pass rush unit, especially if Parsons is fit. But they're not great against the run. And that's your strength, right? So you'd hope that Barkley would go for some yards. That will sort of shorten the game a little bit. It'll put a bit more pressure on Dak, and I think they'll be able to keep it close. They're also 9.5-point underdogs, by the way, the Giants. And I find myself thinking that's too many points. I can see this being quite low scoring and quite messy. And I can see the Giants keeping it close, if not maybe pipping it. They've not got a bad record at AT&T, the Giants, and the Cowboys are notorious for when you start thinking they look like a Super Bowl team, throwing an absolute stinker in. And this has got potential throw a stinker in written all over it for me. I quite like the Giants in this. I don't know why. I just got a funny feeling.
I can't cope with this. You two being nice about the Giants. It's making me feel queasy. Predictions wise, then, boys, if you had to pick a winner here, who would you pick, Dan?
I'd say the Cowboys, but the Giants plus 9.5 would be my pick if I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, I think you are allowed to do that, Dave.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with what he's just said. Maybe under 44.5 as well for the game.
Well, you can get 7-4 is the Giants plus 10.5 and under 48, and so that's lovely.
All right,
that looks very nice to me as a value bet.
There is another bet which is both Pollard and Barkley to rush for 75 plus yards is 4-1. That's on a Sky Bet boost, which is a cracker.
Although we have just said that
it's
potentially
not bad,
takes
but the
Pollard
little
away.
trick there.
It's got to be rushing yards.
And the little trick there is most of his yards will come in the air.
Yeah.
They'll be short throws because they'll use that to beat the door down.
Yep.
That's the risky bit there for me.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the Cowboys just because never bet on your own team. Okay, and where are we picking this value bet from then? What are we saying? Dan, repeat it for me.
So Giants plus 10.5 and under 48.5 points total in the game. Is 7-4 on Sky Bet as a match combo. So
cool. Whilst we're talking about betting companies, it's important to remember to read the small print of the betting company that you decide to go with. So, good example of this: Sky Bet last week. Once the Browns game got moved away from the Bills, away from Orchard Park, Sky Bet refunded any bet for the under. However, Bet365, who I put the bet on with, did not refund the bets. And that is in their terms and conditions quite clearly. So therefore, my bet didn't get refunded and yours did. And I think what I've done is I've taken one for the team there. Absolutely taken one for the team. So, just watch who you're betting with and making sure that you understand those terms and conditions when you do so. Right then, moving swiftly on to the Patriots-Vikings, which is the overnight game Thursday into Friday. Dave Keen's just sent me a note here. It says touchdowns, but I don't have to do that until the Sunday games, Dave.
No, we've got to do them for Thursdays as well.
Got to do them for Thursdays. Why did somebody tell me this and I just didn't read the message?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just not like you don't read the small print of your terms and
No,
conditions.
it's almost like we did it on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. Almost, isn't it? Eh? See what we did there? Yeah, I didn't do it on purpose. Right, come on then. What are we picking touchdowns for?
Well, so the pub are offering a free tray of nachos if you go in and book a table for tomorrow. And they'll also honour the free pint for the touchdown scorers for the first 2 games. So we've got to try and give them a touchdown scorer. First game, Bills Lions. I wrote down Diggs, Davis, Knox, ?
Diggs.
Okay. Yeah.
Alan to Diggs, surely. I mean, it's...
Well, I don't think the Lions have got a cornerback to cover him, so I think you're probably safe.
Right.
And then the second game,
So
Cowboys,
Diggs for the
Giants.
Bills game.
Yeah.
Saquon.
Pollard. Do we want to give him some free beer?
Where are we go? Where would your money go, Dave, on this? He doesn't know.
Do you know what?
He's almost
I think
speechless.
I think that even though I don't think that you're going to win, you are going to run them close. And if you're running close, that means Barkley's going to have done something against these guys. So I can see you running basically wide zones away from Parsons and just feeding Barkley all day. So he might be the value one there.
I'd agree.
We're going Barkley then?
Barkley, yeah.
So it's Diggs for the 5:30 game, Barkley for the 9:30 game, and a free tray of nachos if you book a table and go in to the Nook and Broom in Bramall. Just search for it on the internet. You'll find it straight away. Booths, big screens, great beer, and plenty of other food on offer as well if you get yourself down there. So free tray of nachos if you book yourself a table, and they'll honour the free pint if we've picked the anytime touchdown scorer. Don't forget, we'll put all of these details back up on the Instagram page at Utter Punts UK on Instagram if you would like to get involved. On to the overnight game then, which is what I was trying to do before I was rudely interrupted by giving away free beer and nachos. New England Patriots at the Minnesota Vikings. Is this going to be bounce back time, Dave, for the Vikes?
Don't you need to do another shout out? I don't know. Just make one up. Save me having to talk about this. It's not a game I'm particularly looking forward to. I have got Friday off, so I will be watching it. And yeah, I feel like I'm probably wasted a day's annual leave, but you know.
I mean, Friday's a good day to take off, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean England are playing as well, right? So happy days.
But, I mean, that was secondary in your thinking, right, Dave?
It didn't even occur to me, to be honest. It was a day after Thanksgiving. I book that every year
because football.
Because football.
All right, so Dave, everybody's dying, really struggling with this cold at the minute. Dan's coughing, Dave's coughing. Dave's barely managing to get a word out of his mouth before he has to turn his mic on mute. How do you see Patriots Vikings going, Dan?
Well, you've got to counter end the fourth quarter cutthroat, haven't you? His return to form. So
it depends on whether or not it's Kirk O'Chains, not Kirk Cousins in terms of this.
I think the Vikings are really good. I think the Vikings are a good team, both sides of the ball. I think they've got a really balanced offense when they decide to balance their offense. And I think they only struggle against a team with a good interior pass rush. So they'll really struggle against a team with a good interior pass rush. As we've seen on 2 occasions, they've been absolutely shocking. The Pats haven't got one of those. They've got a decent pass rush. Matt Judon's doing well. He's one of the sack leaders in the league this year, but he comes off the edge. He's an ex-Raven. We know all about him, and he tends to fade about this time of year anyway. I don't like the Pats at all in this game, and I think I don't like the Pats at all in any game, really. I think their offense is just about as shambolic as there is in the league, and if you're up against Matt Patricia, it's not like coming up against somebody that's really talented on play calling. Their quarterback's struggling. They've got 2 good running backs, and their offensive line is sort of rounding to form on the run game, but they can't pass the ball. They're shocking at moving the ball in the air, and they're certainly not going to put a heavy amount of points on the Vikings unless the Vikings give them the ball in their red zone, and even then they struggle to score points, the Patriots. So I think you got to have some faith here. If you look at player for player, offense to offense, the Vikings are stacked, and they can really put some pain onto the Patriots here. I think the Patriots are overmatched on defense. I think they may be able to take away. They'll probably double team Jefferson because Belichick, famously always takes away your best weapon. What is the best weapon? You take away Jefferson, you've got Dalvin Cook and Mattison's a double-headed monster. You've got a quality tight end now. You've got Thielen and Osborne as backup wide receivers. They can't stop all of them. If you play aggressively against the Patriots, you will win. if you come out in your shell, you will not. You will play right into their hands. So come out, all guns blazing, and blow them off the field, and they won't have an answer because they cannot come back at you.
I love everything that you've just said, but unfortunately, I was watching some of the Patriots Jets highlights from the weekend, and I couldn't help but notice that they sacked Zach Wilson an awful lot with Matt Judon going on an inside stunt. If he repeats that, it means he's going up against our right guard, Ed Ingram, who have struggled with stunts all season against inferior players to that. The Vikings can do themselves a favour by starting Chris Reed, who used to play for the Colts last year, when they had a half-decent O-line, funnily enough, but I don't think it is connected. I'd like them to do that. If they don't, having some money on Matt Judon to pick up another couple of sacks might not be the worst thing in the world,
Right, okay, let's make some choices, shall we? Dave, is it going to be the Patriots or is it going to be the Vikings?
I'm going to go with the Patriots just simply because
That's sad.
It hurts to pick the Vikings and then have them lose.
Says a man speaking from experience.
So Patriots. I'll go with Patriots.
All right, good stuff. I would have gone the Vikings. I still think they've got enough, and as Dan's already said, I think the Patriots are hanging around like a bad smell, not out of any kind of merit. So I'm going to go Vikings. Dan?
100% Vikings.
He's
100%.
absolutely certain. Dear listener, I wish you could have seen.
I seem to remember him being quite so certain last week as well, when I had my doubts. And Dan reassured me to a point where you gave me hope, which is the worst enemy of any Viking fan.
I then did mention the Deathly Hallows of Kirk Cousins, which were all sort of sync up at the same time.
Yeah.
This one's late enough to be early. I think we're okay.
I think what I would say is if you'd have had the opportunity to see Dave's demeanour, he got taller and straighter and happier as Dan was really driving home how good the Vikings were. And by the time he got to the end of it, they very nearly believed him. Very, very nearly. Where's the value in this?
The Vikings are only giving up 2.5 points at home.
Ooh.
They've won 8 games. They're a good team. I think if the Vikings are going to win, it'll be by more than 2.5. So that there's also a Sky Bet offer, which is Jefferson, Thielen, or Osborne to score the first overall touchdown at 3-1, which I like.
That's not bad at all. Right, okay, that is the Thanksgiving games done. We will be back to preview the Saturday games very shortly. Don't forget, make sure you get in touch on Instagram with us. We would love to hear from you over the course of the week. It'd be really good to talk to more NFL fans. So if you get the opportunity to just drop us a message or reply to one of our posts, we would absolutely love that at Utter Punts UK on Instagram. Also, share with a friend. If you've got somebody that you watch the NFL with, somebody that you think might enjoy this, somebody that quite likes a little bit of a flutter as well, potentially, then we are absolutely the podcast for them, and we welcome anybody new onto the podcast. Dave's pulling faces, but he knows that it's true. On to Cincinnati Bengals against Tennessee Titans. This is a corker, isn't it? Looking forward to this one. Really brilliant. Everybody cheerful? Everybody happy?
Yeah, this is the best game of the week. I mean, this could be an AFC Championship game in January. Yeah. This is fantastic. This is 2 really good teams. I still don't think the Titans are getting any respect, really. They just went and thumped the Packers in Green Bay, but apparently now everyone can do that, so they don't get any credit for that. They just pushed the all powerful Chiefs to nearly to overtime as well. So, but the Titans at home look a real fight, and this is a real clash of styles, which is why it's such a good game. So you've got the Titans, which is old school AFC football, so run the ball, play good defense, keep it tight, keep it messy, and then you've got the Bengals, who are just bombs away, and I think the clash of styles is phenomenal, and it could go any way you want this game. I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a really good game.
I said in the roundup, Dave, that everybody knows that the Titans have got a good run game. It's been bruising. That ground attack has been bruising for them. But against the Packers at the weekend, they actually showed that even if you try and take that away from them, they can still hurt you. So, I mean, the Bengals they've got a right job on their hands here at Tennessee.
I think they're going to struggle, to be honest. Even if Jamar does manage to come back, which I don't think he's going to do, they're going to be very much up against it in terms of playing against the strengths of the Titans anyway. And I think that Derrick Henry will just completely run over their D line. It's just too strong, too powerful, and he didn't actually run that much last weekend. Didn't he have a little jump throw, a jump touchdown pass as well?
He did.
Absolutely, yeah. It's called quality. He sold that as well. I had no idea he was going to hop up and throw it. So, he's a great player to watch. He's a lot of fun. He's like Adrian Peterson. I was going to say on steroids, which isn't very fair on Derrick Henry, but I mean a bigger, stronger, and more bruising version. A lot of fun, and I like Joe Burrow a lot, but he's going to have to play out of his skin to keep the Bengals ahead. They're probably going to have to play from the front and lean heavily on Mixon to kill the clock and stop Henry from basically burning down their defense. So should be a brilliant matchup. But I'd probably lean towards the Titans.
Yeah, so Jamar Chase is only just off crutches this week. He won't be practicing. And Mixon's in concussion protocol. So he went out the game against the Steelers, and he's still not practicing. He's got a clear concussion protocol before Sunday to be able to play it. And whether they should play him or not in this, I don't know. For me, the Bengals are overmatched here a little bit, and I think this Titans team can close down most passing offenses. They absolutely tore the Bengals O-line apart in the divisional round last year. I think they sacked Burrow 9 times. The Bengals still won because they had Jamar Chase and they had an amazing sort of comeback. But this Titans team can do that again. I just think, who are the Bengals? Are they the team that blew away the Falcons and blew away the Steelers last weekend, or are they the team that played against the Browns? And I think you could get either of those two teams, and I think the Titans are a really upgraded version of the Browns, if that's a funny thing to say. I think they do everything the Browns want to do better than the Browns do. And if the Browns cause the Bengals troubles, I fancy the Titans too as well, and I like the Titans in this a lot.
All right, I'm going Titans. Dave's going... He's just going. He's disappeared.
Disappeared completely. I'm going to go Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Titans.
And the value?
There isn't much really. You can get the Bengals are favourites in Tennessee, which is, I mean, it's 1.5 points. It's not a lot, but it's still it's how much. What do they have to do, the Titans, to be favourites in a game? Titans plus 1.5 and sort of over 37 points is 6-4 because they think it'll be low scoring. I don't. I think they're putting points up the Titans.
Dave's just posted in the chat here, maybe a Derrick Henry 2 touchdown brace for fun.
I like that. Including passing touchdowns and
it could be anything, couldn't it? Rushing, passing, receiving.
There's not many players in the league that will get a timeout
called
for having their shoelaces tied, and that's what happened on Thursday night. He's that important to them. They called the timeout to him to tie his shoelace to get back on the field. He's phenomenal. We need a touchdown score in this for the pub. Now, interestingly, what is good? There's a Manchester Crows tag football team going into the pub on Sunday, so they'll be sat watching this at the time. So I want to give them a free pint. Yeah, so Manchester Crows flag football team, we're going to pick Derrick Henry to score an anytime touchdown in this game, and you're getting a free pint. I'm sure you're going to get a free pint.
I mean,
at least one.
Yeah,
at least one.
Even last week, even with the Packers trying to take him away, he still managed a 4-yard touchdown run to squeeze himself in there as well. So look, I think if we're going to win you some beer, that's exactly how we're going to do it. So Manchester Crows. Hopefully we've sorted you out. We've sorted you out with a free pint there.
And any team of black carrion is favoured by me.
Yeah, but don't forget, he would always pick a cat team over a bird team. So just so we're clear.
No, bird team over cat team. Come on.
I thought it was a cat team over a bird team.
Never pick a cat team over a bird team.
Nah, because then he wouldn't be picking a Ravens ever, would he?
Oh, yeah, no, that's a really good point. That's a good way of remembering it, that, Dave.
Yeah.
Interesting. Moving on to the 9:25 game, Saints at Niners. I mean...
This will be quick.
This might be the fastest preview that we're going to do this week. This has got Niners at home written all over it, hasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, there's not much else to say other than I think the Saints... I mean, they beat the Rams at the weekend, but I think we could probably get a team out to beat the Rams at the moment. The Niners just look imperious, don't they? They're rounded into shape on both sides of the ball. They've got so many weapons on offense that they can bench half of them through the game and just use the other half. It's sort of in your and Dave's fantasy matchup this weekend. We went into sort of Christian McCaffrey versus the Niners defense, didn't you, at the last game? And I said, well, they'll probably just sit McCaffrey and throw it to Kittle and Debo, and that's what they did. And those two scored 3 touchdowns between them. And this weekend, they could do the complete opposite. But the most impressive thing about the 49ers is the defense. That front seven is the best front seven in football, and it's getting healthier and stronger. Nick Bosa's back. Fred Warner's playing. They look imperious. And their back end, Tre'Davious Ward's playing well as cornerback. Hufanga, her safety, seems to be all over the field. Right now, they're the hottest team in football.
Yeah, I think you're right. And when Debo's not receiving the ball and you don't want to use Kittle and Christian McCaffrey's not running it, you can chuck it to Brandon Ayuk for a pair of touchdowns in that game in Mexico City as well.
Or you can put Debo on an end around and let him run in for 40 yards.
Just unbelievable.
Christian
really.
McCaffrey wasn't leading them in rush attempts at the weekend. Elijah Mitchell's back, so he's taking the grunt work. So they've got all these star players around that are just in space. Shanahan's a master at putting people in space, and all Garoppolo's got to do is go 1, 2, 3, throw, and it's done. And he's good enough to do that. And they look serious. They really do.
Dave, anything to add?
No, I think the 49ers are rounding into form at the right time. The only good news for the rest of the league is Shanahan tends to choke when it really matters. So I can see why he's such a big fan of our boy Kirk Cousins.
And they might have to play in Minnesota, right? So you'll sort them out, won't you, Dave, before they get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He loves Kirk so much, he might let him win. He literally sobbed about the way that Kirk was being treated by Mike Zimmer, and it turns out that he might have had a point. But,
Wow.
The value in this, the total points in this game is only set at 43, which I think is really low considering the Niners are smashing everybody, and the Saints in defeat will at least throw the ball. And they've got some decent receivers. Olave's playing well. He looks like a really good receiver. So I think they'll both score some points, and I think over 43.5, even money's probably the bet. Anytime touchdown scorer for the pub.
Take your pick. Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, McCaffrey.
Gave McCaffrey a week off, didn't they? Do you not think that he'll be
he's coming
rotating him week on week?
Ex NFC South sort of rivalry. I think McCaffrey might want to stick it to the Saints. So.
Yeah.
So we go McCaffrey then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So McCaffrey is your anytime touchdown scorer for a free pint at the Nook and Broom this weekend. So just before we move on to the 2 late games, now we've sort of dealt with all of the things that you could potentially get from the Nook and Broom in South Manchester in a place called Bramall this week. Just want to wrap that up. So if you go in on Thursday, you and book a table, you can get a free tray of nachos, and if there is an anytime touchdown scorer in the Bills-Lions game, and we picked Stephon Diggs. So if Diggs scores in that game, it's a free pint. If you then stay till 9:30, Giants against Cowboys, you can have another free pint if Saquon Barkley scores at any point over the course of that game. So essentially, tray of nachos and 2 free pints, potentially, if you go and watch those. Then
minimum 3 pints.
Well, you're not going to stay all the way through from Thursday to Sunday, though, are you? So
stay to watch the Vikings.
Yeah.
But they get a free pint every time they score, don't they?
I don't. I think it's only one, isn't it? All right, we'll check the T's and C's and we'll stick them on Instagram. That's what we'll do. T's and C's, as we've already discussed in this podcast, are definitely not my strong suit, so we'll leave that up to Dan. And then for the 6 o'clock game on Sunday, Bengals against Titans, it's a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown for a free pint. And in the Saints-Niners game at the Nook and Broom in Bramall, if you want a free pint, we have gone with Christian McCaffrey to score any time in that game for a free beer for you.
They're also doing £15 bottomless wings on a Sunday now from 6 o'clock. Wow.
That sounds like a challenge to me.
I know, yeah. See you Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be there on a Sunday. We've got to work out if it is bottomless.
Yeah, I think this is going to be great. Right, let's move on to the late game, shall we? Still 2 more games to preview before we get to the end of the Utter Punts podcast, and we need to pick our Utter Punts of the week, of course. Still thinking on that one. I haven't got anybody yet. Green Bay Packers at Philadelphia Eagles. Tell you what, it was a bit tight, wasn't it, for the Eagles at the weekend? Are they okay, or have they had their wobble? Are they going to come storming back here against a troubled Green Bay side, Dave?
So what's the worst possible result for the Vikings in the long term? That's what will happen. No, on a genuine note, I think I think the Eagles signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh to solve a problem. It probably will solve the problem. Linval was always amazing against the run, and then Ndamukong Suh is no slouch. They've got 2 additional behemoths on the line to keep rotating everybody else. Green Bay have got the same old problem. They don't have any receivers. Christian Watson scored 5 touchdowns in 2 games, taking a rookie lead in that regard. I expect anyone with a competent corner and safety combination to be able to shut him down. All they're doing is the same play that they played on the opening day of the season against the Vikings when he dropped it. He's doing a better job of catching the ball, but I don't think that it's sustainable for him, and they're just so good.
Yeah, it's hard to see after watching the Titans against the Packers, and the Packers lose and get really just. They were just outclassed, weren't they, against the Titans? It wasn't really fair. And I think, how did they beat them, the Titans? They played really close at the line. Well, the Eagles are really good at that. They ran the ball really well. Well, the Eagles are really, really good at that. And they stopped the aerial class. Well, the Eagles are really, really good at that as well. So if the Eagles are a good version of the Titans, then the Packers are in serious trouble. And I can't help thinking they're just going to run all over the Packers in this. And every now and again, they can hit Brown or Smith. And I think this is it's going to be a fairly sorry game. It's going to be a shame to watch Rodgers in such form.
Yeah, not great. And Jalen Hurts fast becoming one of my favourite quarterbacks in the league. He's genuinely dual threat, and we're seeing that 3 seasons in. Is he now 3rd-year quarterback, Jalen Hurts? And finally, he's really showing what he's got in his locker, and it's really good to see. And I think there's some good coaching going on there with him as well, to really bring him out of his shell and really show just how good he could potentially be in coming seasons.
Well, they were trying to play a certain game plan on Sunday against the Colts, and for the first sort of 3 quarters, they were trying to they're trying to pass the ball, they were trying to do everything pretty, and in the 4th quarter when they needed 2 scores, they just handed the ball to him and said run, and all the design runs came back in. The touchdown is a thing of absolute beauty. It looks really simple. It's a 6-yard touchdown run, but all game and pretty much all season, Jalen Hurts has followed Jason Kelce, the centre. He's followed him wherever Kelce's gone. He's blocked for Hurts to run into. And on Sunday, I think they were 4th and 2. They had to score, or they were losing the game. Kelce goes right, and Hurts just walks straight up the middle. And they've just sold everybody. And it was just
he followed the fullback, I think. Yeah, it was amazing.
The easiest touchdown. But actually, that is a thing of absolute beauty when you watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Packers are as good as that. So I really like the Eagles. I think at home, I think this Philadelphia crowd will be raucous on a late Sunday game. They don't get many of them, and they will be up for it. And I just think it'll be far too much for the Packers. And the Eagles are only giving up 6.5, which I think is reasonable. And the points are really quite low at 46. I would go over and over and over and over and over.
Okay, so I'm going Eagles. Dan's going
Eagles, yeah,
and Dave's going.
Both teams sharpening each other to the point where they defeat us the next time we meet. Eagles.
Eagles. And you reckon that's where the value is? Go over?
Yeah, I think go over the over. I think I don't think you can put enough. I think if you gave the Eagles 12, the Packers 12 points, the Eagles would cover it. I think they're on to sort of put their foot down on the division, especially if the Cowboys lose on Thanksgiving, which they will.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, moving on to stinkiest game of the week. It's Pittsburgh Steelers against the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff Saturday's Indianapolis Colts. I said in the roundup that I know he's not got bags and bags of big game experience, and when I say he hasn't got bags and bags, I mean he's got none. But he has done something to that Colts dressing room, and the Steelers are still shit. So there's really only one way this is going, isn't there, Dan?
Unfortunately not. No. Yeah, he's certainly solidified them, and they're certainly playing, and that outstanding defense that we thought they had is starting to look like a proper defense. I think they're one of the top 10 defense anyway, but they're really starting to look like it now. Stephen Gilmore's playing really, really well in their backfield, and their line looks really good with the Brickshot Ferguson. They're also their offensive line, their much touted, most expensive offensive line in football, is also starting to look like a really decent offensive line. That said, the Eagles, with their 2 new players, Joseph and Suh, really took the run away. They took Taylor out of the game for the most part. And my concern here for the Colts is TJ Watt's back, and I think with TJ Watt in this Steelers team, they're probably up there with the best, most aggressive fronts in the league. And I think if they take Taylor away, which he will harass Matt Ryan all night.
That's a superhuman effort from Watt, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah,
How has he come back? Yeah. He ripped. So, if you don't know, ripped his pec off. It was off first week, and he's back before the playoffs.
I'm going to go a bit Dave
I told
here.
you.
Yeah, I'm going to go a bit Dave here and think that he's only coming back because the Ravens have got to play the Steelers twice yet the rest of this year, and he's only come back just to ruin us getting a number 1 seed or something. That's all
his older brother did it before as well. It's ridiculous. When he tore his pec, I said that his brother had got back in 8 weeks, and he seems to have done it in a very similar time frame. Got to be impressed.
And straight away, even with games out, his motor and his sort of fitness level is just back match fit. Engine. Like, he's one of those players that comes back match fit, and he was incredible against the Bengals. I know they lost, but the fact that the Steelers got within 7 points of the Bengals playing like that was it really down to him. He's an absolute menace, and I think that Colts line is going to have to be very careful, because I think Matt Ryan might revert to early season form against these here, and the Steelers have started to run the ball well. Pickens has clearly taken over as the number 1 receiver. Dave's man Pickens, he's playing really well. Free move for tight ends back, he's making plays. Najee Harris all of a sudden is making plays. The Steelers are rounding into form a bit late. I don't think their quarterback's the quarterback for the future, but he's passable, and I
agree.
I think the Steelers will probably just have too much here.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett doesn't see things that he should be seeing, and it worries me. I thought I gave him every chance of coming into the league and doing something, but there's certain blind spots to what he's doing at the moment which worry me, and I don't think he's enough of an athlete to become a proper dual threat running back in the NFL. And in his last year in the college game, I'm pretty sure it was the fact that he started using his feet more that got him extra production and probably made him draftable as high as he is. But he's also a legend in the state of Pittsburgh because he went to college there and now he's been signed by the Steelers. So I think they're gonna struggle to see him off anytime soon. And I think as a result, they could be in trouble for a little bit of time.
Okay, so let's go and pick who we think is going to win this one. Dan?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
Dave?
I'm going to stay on the Jeff Saturday bandwagon. He gave me a lot of fun last weekend when the Colts pushed the Eagles so hard, and I know that Dan was having a bit of a Alex Ferguson twitchy bum time with that one, but it came through in the end. But just out of solidarity to the Jeff Saturday movement, he's a bit shit. But no, I'm going to go with him.
I'm going to go with Dave on this. I'm going to go with the bearded Viking. I'm going to go with the Colts too. And again, I'm just on the Jeff Saturday bandwagon. I love it when somebody comes in like that with relatively limited NFL experience and somehow manages to solidify a dressing room, namely because of the character that he's got, and is getting a bit of a tune out of him. So I'm going to go Colts too. Is there any value in it, Dan?
Well, I think so, because the Colts are favourites and they've not been very good, really. So the Colts are giving up 2.5 points, and the points total is 39.5. I think I would go Steelers plus 3.5 points with a field goal, because I think they'll keep it close, and I would go probably over the points.
Dave, anything to add on this one?
No, other than to say that in the last game, the Steelers have had 2 longest defensive plays of the season. A run from Najee Harris, which I think was 26 runs, and then a catch from Pickett, which was 28. That doesn't exactly tell you they've got that much explosiveness. I think that suits the Colts, and that's why I'm pretty confident that the Colts will come out on top.
Cool. I've just had a thought about a talking point for next week as well, so get your thinking caps on this. Freaks of nature in the NFL. Now, I know a lot of them are complete freaks of nature, but I'm talking, Aaron Donald and TJ Watt and Derrick Henry and DK Metcalf. That kind of absolute freak of nature. So get your thinking caps on. If you want to get involved in that, if you want to send us your absolute freaks of nature in the NFL, at Utter Punts UK on Instagram, get them across, tell us what you think, and we'll include them on next week's programme. Right, let's talk about the bet that we're putting on this week, Dan. Where are we going? What are we doing? You and Dave will have been deep in conversation.
We have. We actually, it was a first time. It's like a first edit bet, this one.
Oh, really?
That went over.
One time.
Approved, done. One time hit. That's how confident we are. And obviously, our bet could come in last week because the line was voided. Because we bet
Sorry,
Sky
people,
bet.
I'm not well. I did warn you.
Yeah.
So we've gone, in the 6 o'clock game, we've gone the Tennessee Titans plus 7.5 points. The Then we've gone over 43.5 points in the San Francisco New Orleans Saints game. And then on the late game, we've gone for over 37.5 points in the Eagles and Packers. And that pays just under 2-1.
Lovely stuff. Good work. And just in time for the 2-minute warning, which means it's time for Utter Punts of the Week nominations. I'm going first, and I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers.
Good. As
my Utter Punt of the Week. Aaron Rodgers has taken to trying to get the best out of his teammates by screaming at them at every opportunity. And do you know what, Aaron? That doesn't always get the best out of people. Sometimes people need an arm around the shoulder. Sometimes they need some quiet encouragement. They don't always need screaming out and telling that they're useless. Aaron Rodgers, Utter Punt of the Week.
Okay, so I'm going to go for somebody who I actually really like, Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles. Simple reason, he walked off on Sunday, giving it to the crowd, saying, that shit's for Frank Reich, because he used to be the offensive coordinator in there with Frank Reich. Now, Nick, if that was for Frank Reich, you just beat Jeff Saturday's Colts by 1 point after being 13 points down, making Jeff Saturday look like the new Bill Belichick. Yeah. If you're going to make a point, make a different point, Nick, and focus on your own team, because you've got a chance of doing something, and don't get embroiled in this nonsense. Utter punt.
Dave.
So my choice is actually someone I've not picked before, but is somebody who I'm hopeful this annoys Dan. I'm picking Zach Wilson as my Utter Punt of the Week on account of the fact that he Kirk Cousins it after the Jets-Patriots game, and when asked did he feel like he'd let the defence down, a defence which held the Patriots to 3 points until the final play of the game, he answered no, aggressively. In a way which suggested it was somebody else's fault, right? I mean, Zach, have some self-awareness. Be aware of the fact that even if you think that someone else has done you over, even if you feel you got let down by your play caller, publicly lead. Publicly understand the fact that you are the leader of that team. Therefore, you are ultimately accountable for what they do, how they get on, and you are the Utter Punt of the Week.
I've got to say, there's some serious daddy issues from us on this week, isn't there? We're all very upset about the leadership of some of these men. Brilliant stuff. Dan, it's always a pleasure to have you along. Thank you very much indeed. Dave, always a pleasure to have you along. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
And we will be back, as always, next week on Utter Punts, where we will look back at this week and ahead to week 13. Make sure you hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from and share us with a friend. See you next week.